Delighted to be joined on stage today by Tad Simons and also by Lionel Genix. I'm going to start off by asking Tad some questions and then going to Lionel. Tad was the former president and CEO of Novus and built that and was very successful in creating very significant value for that company over the period that he was in charge of it. Tad, you saw a lot of growth, you created a lot of value. What were the two or three key things that really drove that value creation?
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here at BioMarine again. I think it's my fourth time, and it's really a pleasure to reconnect with a lot of old friends who've been coming over these years. In terms of Novus, yes, I stepped down as CEO last year after 13 years in that role. That was 13 years of kind of a great ride for that, and we had a lot of fun, and the company grew to $1.5 billion in sales. And really the focus with regard to your customers, I think in terms of understanding, because our customers are global. Inside Novus, we're only 800 people across the world, so we have to be very efficient with what we do and be very efficient with our connection with our products and delivering our products reliably and sustainably to our customers. We had quite a bit of new product development as well. I would say, and today we produce enzymes, minerals, probiotics, carotenoids, so a wide range of other products that are really very relevant to the livestock industry. Most purposefully, I would say, most focused on the poultry industry, which has been rapidly growing around the world. I personally had a very strong interest in aquaculture, and so we put a lot of effort into that over the past years. I think currently the company is a bit more refocused on poultry and seeing a lot of growth there. So for me, it's been a great time. I think Novus has done very well to be able to bring new products and innovation into the market and continues to grow.
You said that you had a focus on aquaculture whilst you were president and CEO. What was it about aquaculture and the blue economy in particular that attracted you as a president looking at that opportunity?
Well, there's several things about it. I think, well, one thing, the people. The people are great people in this industry, and they're very open to new ideas and innovation, I think more so than anywhere else in the whole livestock industry. Feed industry, aqua feed is the fastest growing, has been for several years. Fastest growing of all feed industry. Small base, absolutely, but you see the growth is there. Fish, we know the demands for fish is going to increase, continues to increase, and the need for actually having more farm-raised fish is incredible. And the opportunities for innovation and new products. And I think this is an area where we really were looking to put more technology, but it's hard. It's harder than actually working with poultry because there's so many different challenges, so many different growing conditions, so many different countries. So the challenge and the challenges go on. But I think where there are challenges, there are opportunities. And that's why I love this industry.
You said there were challenges with particular regard to innovation. Can you just go into that a little bit more deeply? What were the specific challenges, or what are the specific challenges that you saw?
Well, first is really in terms of the fragmentation of the industry. So there are parts that go from like the salmon industry, which is very concentrated, very sophisticated, but you go all the way down to small scale production. And I've been in China, and I've been in India, I've been in Vietnam, I've been in Africa, I've been all kinds of places where, so the scale of production, the need for capital, I think is one of the greatest challenges we have in this industry, to be able to allow technology to actually get to a scale that can be commercial, that we can actually be able to start solving some of those food needs that we have. And securing that capital, especially into emerging markets, I think is really critical, and probably the greatest challenge I see, even more than technology, is bringing capital to bear. And the regulatory side in countries like the US is also, I think, a big challenge. It's been holding the industry back because we don't have a very clear system for regulating and licensing for marine aquaculture, which is really the future.
You've now left Novus, and you're now working, doing other things, working as an investor, looking at interesting projects out there in the marketplace. Can you describe the types of investments that you're now looking at and your new role that you've moved into?
Well, a few years ago, I started working with an angel investing group in St. Louis and invested as a limited partner in a local venture capital firm. And last year, the Kauffman Foundation, based in Kansas City, which is really a leader in research with regard to entrepreneurship, issued a paper saying ag tech is really the future. It's critical if we're going to feed the 9 or 10 billion people, and we should be looking at the Midwest as being a center for this. And so I came back and I started talking to people who were, St. Louis is in the center of the country. It's really in the center of agriculture. Within 500 miles of St. Louis is 75% of the U.S. agricultural production. And if you start thinking about that, you start putting, why aren't we investing in ag tech startups? We're investing in all other kinds of startups. We were investing in medical devices, investing in IT companies, investing in many different things. But ag tech was always sort of lumped in with life sciences, biotech, and as we all know, it's much more complex than that. It's much more complex than what we can do in terms of any aspect of biotechnology, because we have a lot of other things. Logistics is very important. So there's processing. So there's so many things that are really important in terms of agricultural production. As Monsanto just came out after not being able to get Syngenta, they said, well, we're doubling down with regard to big data. So fine, big data and precision ag, robotics, all of these things are going to be very, very important in terms of agricultural production going into the future. Since I had a little bit more free time on my hands, not actually running Novus anymore, I worked with some folks in St. Louis to start a small venture capital firm called the Yield Lab. And our model is to, we work as an accelerator program. So we invest a small amount of money into a company, and then over the course of 9 months, we're working with them very closely. They're assigned a mentor. One of our general partners will work with them. They don't need to be based in St. Louis. They come to St. Louis once a month for 2 days. And in the course of those 9 months, we're able to work with them and help them to get to the commercial stage for their product, hopefully their first customers. We started last year in September. We had 115 companies from 15 countries apply. And this is a time when nobody knew what we were doing or what we were doing. And so now we are open to our applications again. We just graduated our first class, if you like. Our first 6 companies have all been successful. Our $600,000 that we invested in those 6 companies has been now matched with $12 million of additional investment going into those companies over this year. So we're very proud of that, very proud of how well those 6 companies have done. We plan to invest in 8 to 10 companies next year as we go through the program. And again, it will follow the same model. So we're open. That's why one reason I'm here is to meet the companies that are here, the companies that are pitching, but also to meet with the many other people who are working in development, economic development in the different clusters around the world to actually be able to describe this model. It's not proprietary to me. I hope other places will adopt the model, because really what it says is people from industry step up. And as you get to a position like me, and you get a position you have a bit of free time, give back. Give back to help these startup companies. There is money out there. We had no problems really in raising the capital for our fund. The challenge is being able to work with the companies, spend time with them. We're all working as volunteers. Yes, we'll get our carry interest maybe one day if those companies ever exit. But the main thing is you have a lot of fun in the meantime working with them and seeing their success.
You said you've had success now with 6 companies. You're now an investor, so you're looking critically at companies to invest into. What are the sort of criteria that you focus in on before making that investment decision?
So the first thing is we're only investing B2B, so business-to-business solutions. We're not looking at B2C. We had a lot of applications of people who want to come in and do local farming. They want to do they'll sell you a kit to grow tomatoes in your window, or somebody who wanted to grow shrimp in Cincinnati and tanks. All those things are fine. I'm not making a criticism with regard to any of those kind of investment opportunities, but they really want us. What we could bring value to, since most of us at the managing director level come from big industry. One was vice president at Monsanto, another was a vice president at Anheuser-Busch InBev. He was in charge of procurement for them the last 3 years in Brussels. He was actually responsible globally for procurement. So we're really much more about business-to-business supply chain, looking in terms of technologies that apply whether it's in animal health and nutrition or in the crop sciences area, whether it's be big data or it's going to be aquaculture. So we're very much prepared to work with companies on any of those things. We look for those where we can add, where our team can add value to the management team that's there in place. Much more about that than it is about what the technology is. And when I look at the first 6 companies, 2 are in biodiesel. Well, I would do that, you know. Isn't that old school now? Well, one of those biodiesel companies is based in St. Louis using Pennycress. So they would develop this technology over in the Danforth Plant Science Center, which is a great resource we have. Sort of like the great resource we saw yesterday here, more from the marine biology side. We have that Plant Sciences Center in St. Louis that startup companies can use. That's charged, but not at a very high rate. Anyway, so they're using this, this winter crop, but it's bringing value then back to the farmer. So the winter crop actually helps with nitrogen runoff. It helps with soil erosion. So they're very sustainable, but we need to bring value also for this crop so the farmers can afford to put it in. So that's one, but then we had logistics issues. So how do we process this? The process is like canola. We have no canola in the Midwest, so how do we do that? So all those are issues, and the regulatory issues that come through. Other companies using Pongamia. So they're going into Florida where there used to be orange trees, in Hawaii where there used to be sugarcane. So that company is growing trees. So hard to get VCs to come and invest in a company where it takes 4 years before you have the first harvest of the nuts from the trees. But the farmers there in Florida are desperate for something to replace their orange trees. And private equity that invests in farmland sees this company as being a great opportunity because that technology is going to bring back value into that farmland. So their support is coming in now from private equity. Very interesting to see that model happen. So while they're both in biodiesel, they're not competing with each other. Actually, they're collaborating a lot in terms of understanding. We have 2 in big data, one coming out of Argentina. So they already have their customers in Argentina and in Brazil. Will their model work in the US? Well, the answer is we have 3 customers with them now in the US, so now they're opening an office in St. Louis, and they're going for another round of funding because that model is working in the US. The other company is around permanent crops. A couple of architects working with their friends, the orange growers in Florida, the guy said, can you use that LiDAR technology, that 3D imagery technology, to help me understand what I should be doing with my orange trees? And now he's doing that with orange trees, with blueberries, with olives in Italy and Spain, bananas in Benin. So now he's moving to a UAV platform, a drone platform for data collection. So we start seeing that company growing rapidly. They're actually adding a lot of staff now to be able to scale up, to be able to, and they're about the only company I know working with permanent crops. And then we have a company that's going for low-cost RNAi. And I think we've already heard a little mention of RNA. It's really going to be one of those important technologies in the future if we can actually get the cost structure down. And there, we're working very closely with them. And then the last company was already profitable. They're into a Series B, so why did they want to come and get our $100,000? But they were in turf and ornamental. And we were able to show them over the past 9 months that their product can actually have applications in agriculture, which will be much bigger than anything they've ever done before. So for us, it's really working with teams and helping them to find their connections into the market. So that's going to be a foreign company coming in to access the US market. It's going to be a company already established in an adjacent market in the US. If it's a company looking for support in terms of investment and connections. So our investors are, one investor is a co-op coming out of Iowa. So it's great to have that direct connection with farmers and growers who have actually an interest in seeing our companies be successful. So we're very broad in terms of technology. Most critical thing is, can our team bring value to the management team that's there?
Tad, thank you very much indeed. I started off by asking the question, how did you create the value that you created at Novus? And I think the fascinating insights that you've given demonstrates exactly how you created that value. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I'd like now to hand the microphone over to Lionel Genix. Lionel is French, but has lived in America. In fact, a lot of your adult life outside of France. I'll apologize up front. The fact is, we're both Europeans. There's a small issue of a rugby game taking place in Europe, probably people in the US will not be aware, but it's called the Rugby World Cup. He's French, I'm British, I'm Scottish, but he did make the assumption I was English, and so we had a few interesting moments at the beginning of this. Lionel, welcome. Lionel is the CEO for a subsidiary of Air Liquide, the big French multinational. His company is called Seppic. Lionel, I wonder if you could just start by introducing yourself and describing a little bit about your journey to become the CEO of Seppic.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Michael. And thank you for having me here. And I have to apologize for my very strong French accent. I've been trying hard to change it, but after all those years, I decided to give up. Now, there's a very famous person that had a strong accent and ended up governor of California, so I have some hope in this country. So indeed, I'm the CEO of Seppic Inc. Seppic is a focus on specialty ingredients for the health and beauty care industry. My whole career has been in the health and wellness industry. I started in technical roles in the B2C side, working for L'Oreal and then Procter. And then I took a step back in the value chain, if you can say it this way, and evolved to business roles in the B2B side, working for Romanas, Dow Chemical, and now Seppic. I feel that I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to work in 3 different continents. That's been very interesting for me.
That's an interesting point, that you're a French person living outside of France. You've had experience working multinationally. How important is that understanding of international cultures and international dimensions to your business?
Actually, very important, because more than 80% of our sales are outside France, which is where Seppic has been is headquartered and has grown. So our market is extremely global, but yet you have really to understand the local trends. So I think there are you have many opportunities to capture those local trends if you do a good job to understand them. And I think being international has always helped me to understand those trends. And also what has helped me is to have experience on both sides, on B2C and B2B. I think this is also very important to understand, what your customer want.
Your company has been around for quite a few years. You're going through a good period of growth right now. What's driving that growth for Seppic at the moment?
So the growth that we see and the opportunity that we see is with the natural actives. So there's definitely a trend for more naturalness, for more sustainable ingredients in the health and beauty care industry. And that has been our focus. So 2 years ago, we made the acquisition of Bi-Tech Marine. It's a company that is specialized in high-tech bioactive natural substances extracted from marine plants and seaweeds. And we have been seeing a fabulous growth with those activities.
When you made the decision to invest and purchase Bi-Tech Marine, what were the factors driving that decision to invest?
So clearly it's the market trend. There's this demand for more natural products, and with more natural products come also new issues. So we all know about the issues around palm oil and the deforestation, the issues with biodiversity. And what we saw with Bi-Tech Marine was this ability to exploit this biomass, the blue biomass, that has a lot of potential. And the potential, our conviction, it has barely been scratched. So I think we have a lot more potential with marine ingredients in the beauty and the healthcare industry. And that's our excitement today.
You mentioned your customers. How accepting are they of BioMarine blue economy ingredients going into their products? Do they really get it?
I believe so. I think there's what we see is a great acceptance of the blue ingredients. Now, when we sell marine ingredients, we don't always focus the story on the fact that it's a marine ingredient, and so our market is not just for spa products, because very often I get these questions. But all the ingredients that we sell and develop are backed up with a lot of science. In fact, there is a lot of science behind these blue ingredients, and that's what we sell. The fact that they come from the marine source is actually the reason why, the rationale why it works, and not the core of the marketing story. So it's the rationale. And in fact, the great thing about marine ingredients is the fact that it's a biomass that contains a lot of metabolites, that generates a lot of metabolites because of the stress. The marine ingredients that we exploit, they come from Brittany. Yes, Brittany doesn't have the glitter of Monaco, but there are casinos in Brittany. And I encourage you to visit this area in France. It's absolutely beautiful. And you may know that it's one of the largest seaweed fields in the world, thanks to the Gulf Stream that lands in Brittany. And there's a great diversity of seaweeds in Brittany. There are more than 800 species of seaweeds that we can tap on. So there's really a great potential there.
You said that you felt we were barely scratching the surface of the potential from the blue economy, to use a description. What did you mean by that?
So I will give you 2 examples of recent development that we did and that are really exciting us. So the first innovation is a unique process that Sepik Biotech Marine has just developed to cultivate macroalgae in a multicellular state. So we all know about microalgae, but here the unique aspect of this innovation is the cultivation of macro algae in a cellular state. And in essence, what we do is that we take a drop of the ocean and we isolate and extract cells of macroalgae. We stabilize on the media and then grow it in on a bioreactor. And so why we are excited about this technology is because it's going to enable us to cultivate a very rare species of algae and probably some unidentified species of algae, and therefore open doors to new metabolites, to new actives for the health and beauty care market. So that's the first innovation. The second innovation I want to mention is a project that we have in collaboration with Fermentalg, with La Metza and VGplast and a couple of other public research organizations. And this project is about the development of an algal-based fatty alcohol and emulsifiers for the beauty care industry. And you know, for us, Sepik, working on an alternative to palm oil for the building blocks of our green chemistries, this is a big deal, and but this is at the same time a big challenge. So we are very excited about this project. We see this is new. This is in progress. But again, finding an alternative to palm oil in this industry is going to be a big deal.
How easy is it to scale these innovations when they come on stream, in terms of the production, the logistics, and all of the other component parts?
Okay, so Biotech Marine is based in Brittany to have access directly to to have a direct access to the biomass there from fresh. So we take the algae fresh from the sea, or we make some cultivations of cells. For what we do, because our focus has been on actives for the beauty care industry, the scale is not so much a challenge for us. What is more a challenge is the reproducibility of the quality and establishing the science to support the efficacy of those actives.
And final question, as you go forward from here, and if you had your crystal ball and you were looking at your crystal ball, how do you think this industry will look in 5 to 10 years' time?
So I think there will be definitely more building blocks based on algal oil, based on their marine ingredients. So that's one. There's today a lot of things coming from petrochemicals or from palm oil. So I think there will be diversification towards algal-based building blocks. I think there will be more and more ingredients coming from the marine from the marine resource in the health and beauty care industry. I think there will be newer technologies to enable to do new things. So I mentioned, for example, our technology Celebrity with the cultivation of microalgae cells. It's never been done before. There will be some others. And my concluding words is that we are definitely looking for partners and acquisitions in this area to make the science progress, like we did with the Algal project and Fermentalg and the other partners I mentioned.
Lionel, thank you very much indeed. And just a final passing reference to rugby. Good luck against New Zealand in 1 week's time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.